Alrighty, welcome to the 162nd edition of the MMA Circus here on BloodyElbow.com and live on YouTube. I am Nick Baldwin. He is Andrew the Clown Kid Lawrence, and as always, we are your hosts for today. Andrew, it hasn't been all that long. It's been 7 days, 1 week. This is the right amount of time. I wasn't supposed to talk to you over the weekend. This is when we were supposed to talk next. I can't believe it. How are you doing?
You still miss me, though, when it's just 7 days. I'm still missing.
Of course I did.
You all should be lucky and very blessed. Viewers of the MMA Circus, our faithful listeners, you know, they look forward to seeing me in my return. I feel it. I feel it when I come back. You know, I feel their love. That's what drew me back after so many weeks. Last week's show was a little rough, so I decided I'll follow up, come right back again. Don't leave them hanging. And also later this month, I'm going to go on vacation and a bunch of shit, so I won't be around. So I'm chalking up good, putting in the work early.
Your filter for this show or no?
No, I've never put on my filter.
Okay, I just figured, like, I know you're not the type of person to typically have a filter when it comes to you talking, but it seemed like last week, if you ever had one, it was definitely not there last week.
No, I was suffering zero fools. Genuinely, when you mentioned my filter, I thought you were talking about like my pop protector on my screen. I was like I would never censor what I want to say to you, Nicholas.
I don't blame you. What's the weather in Brooklyn like?
It's consistently gorgeous. We've been having like 70 around noon and like 65 all around it, basically, for the last couple of days. Had a rainy day 3 days ago, but you know, pretty great spring weather. How's everything going up in the frozen tundra? I'm gonna guess. Let me guess, please.
Okay. Keeping in mind it is currently 6:41 in Winnipeg, Manitoba, so PM.
3 degrees Celsius.
3 degrees.
Yeah.
It's summer. Almost.
It's summer. Oh my God.
Yes. Did you not know this? Breaking news. Winnipeg, as of this second, is not an Arctic tundra. There's no
guys.
Snow.
The 3 weeks of summer have begun.
Can you believe it?
Get your shorts out. You know.
I'm wearing shorts right now.
Catch a tan. When do you start wearing shorts? What degree are you? Like a 60, 65 degree guy?
Yeah, right around there probably.
That's so vicious. I'm like 85.
Yeah. 85, I'm naked.
On that disturbing note.
Just kidding. Your discretion is advised on the MMA Circus, apparently.
Jesus.
Winnipeg weather, though, right now, we're sitting at 66 degrees Fahrenheit.
Which is what, Celsius?
I just said, it's 19 Celsius.
19. Okay.
So you're off by quite a bit, Andrew Lawrence.
Yeah. You know,
and then yesterday was the hottest day of the year so far. We got up to about 87 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh my goodness. It was the scorcher that came through. Yeah, I think we got that same heat wave because, you know, it was like 90 in the city one day and we were like, Jesus Christ, what happened?
It was very nice.
I almost needed to install my AC. I gotta like throw in the window unit for a day.
It really is crazy, though. 3 weeks ago, we had snow, and yesterday it was almost 90 degrees Fahrenheit. That's Winnipeg for you.
Well, congratulations. Enjoy it. Live it up, Winnipegians. You know, go outside. Don't be on this podcast. Enjoy this podcast outdoors.
You sound very enthused about my excitement for the Winnipeg weather, and
well, I feel your pain. I listen to it every goddamn week. It seems
you do.
Terrible. You send me photos of like
I do. This is something the viewers wouldn't know, but yeah, I do.
I'll let you into. He'll just be like, "Yeah, it snowed again in Winnipeg." I get like a daily weather report sometimes.
Not quite daily, maybe monthly, but
right. Bi-weekly.
I did let you know when it snowed back in April, and I did let you know that the other day when it was super hot. So
that's that's noteworthy.
I hint on the important temperatures.
Just the major, you know,
the shifts,
weather-related, instances.
There you go.
Okay. Answer me this before we start talking about MMA in earnest. And it is MMA related. Did you or did you not watch Rizin FC?
It's not FC, but that's okay.
Well,
I did not watch
Rizin.
I wanted to watch, at very least, the main event, Tension, and the co-main. I was intrigued by Kyoji Horiguchi versus Ian McCall, but I have never quite figured out Fight TV. I've never gotten it working too well, whereas you don't need to pay the $30. Like you know how they have the free codes and you get the free credits. I'm not paying $30 for two fights that I'll watch when I'm half asleep. No matter how great they are, I'm probably just not gonna do that. And so I slept and I woke up to hear that Horiguchi knocked McCall out in 9 seconds. And really, I wasn't that disappointed that I skipped it just because it's a 9 second fight. A great performance from Horiguchi. He's looking better than ever right now. And I think this really shows how moving to Rizin, moving to Japan in front of his home country and hometown crowd, I think it's a terrific move for Kyoji. But ultimately, seeing it how short it went, I wasn't all that disappointed that I missed this one.
How much of his performance do you attribute to Kyoji just being really good and evolving and being genuinely, number 2 probably in flyweights alive right now?
Might disagree, but
maybe in that conversation.
He's right there.
Might be in that conversation. I like him as the next real contender. So, but how much do you attribute it to that, Horiguchi becoming great, and how much do you attribute it to maybe Ian McCall, who's just like kind of falling apart? The wheels of, the tread has been thin on his tires for quite a while. Yeah. Always been a great fighter, but maybe the injuries and maybe the age just eventually beat up with him.
No, I mean, everything that McCall has gone through, which really is a lot. I mean, I talked to him. I think the last time I spoke with him was the very early 2017. I don't think I've spoken to him since, but I mean, his hand has been beat up a bunch of times. I'm sure he's
broken it a few times. Like he's had the same hand and surgeries on it.
He's gone through so much, and I know talking to him one time a couple of years ago, he had basically stopped training like a regular amount. He was training sort of when he wanted to, when he felt like it, when his body felt like it could train for an hour here and an hour there. It's never been a good look for Ian McCall these past couple of years. So many canceled fights, some his fault, some not. I mean, not his fault. Injuries happen, and they're no one's fault really. But others were, of course, Ray Borg, Justin Scoggins. They got weight cut issues and illnesses and all that. But everything that has, sort of boiled up around Ian McCall's career, all these non-fights, all these canceled fights, all these injuries, it was, he wasn't going to win this fight. Kyoji Horiguchi is a monster. He's arguably the second best flyweight, maybe number 3, maybe number 4. I mean, I don't know where Joseph Benavidez stands. He hasn't fought in a long time. He's right up there still as one of the better 125ers in the world. But Horiguchi is a monster. He hits hard. His striking is so precise and very clean. I knew Horiguchi was going to win. I predicted him by stoppage as well. I just didn't know it'd be in 9 seconds.
Yeah, of course. And I don't think I was looking so much to see Ian McCall, necessarily win this fight, but, be in this fight to see how he did against someone of, Horiguchi's talent was kind of what I was looking for. See if he still could be a fighter, could do something in Rizin, because they need other people to, fill out the middle of these cards too. I think probably that loss to Cape in Rizin in the tournament before the New Year's Eve tournament, that he was supposed to, if he won that fight, he would have been facing Kyoji that next, I think it was 2 days later. Probably a little bit about. I think you froze out on me.
One of us froze. I don't know what you said the last 10, 15 seconds, but I'm assuming all you did was praise Rizin for being the best promotion on the planet, and But was it a good event? You watched it, I assume.
Oh my god, yeah! So I watched the whole thing live, and I actually had a fantastic time watching it live. My move always too is sometimes if you're gonna fade out and you're gonna take a nap, you're like, man, I'm really tired. Just set an alarm for an hour or two from when you fall asleep, and then you wake up and you only miss a couple of the early set in the cards, and you caught everything important. Honestly, I had hope for the 2 heavyweight fights that started this card. I think there was a kickboxing fight, and there was a girls fight. I forget what weight class. But then there was 2 heavyweight fights, and I was hoping that they'd like found, you know, some fun, cool heavyweights to watch. But it was just like both of them slogging, boring. You know how a heavyweight fight can get sometimes.
Yep.
And both of them were that way, which was disappointing. And then after that, it really became dope when we got to the main card. Watching Cape lost his fight, but that was a very controversial decision. He probably should have won that fight easily. I think that he beat up Asakura pretty badly there. But that was interesting to watch. That got me back into like being excited about watching MMA. And then Ishii had a kickboxing fight and won that fight, and it was really exciting. And then when Crookshank hits this dude with the head kick KO, you were just like, it was lightning. It was so fun.
Yep.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. You know, because and also there weren't that many, you know, besides Ian, American representatives on the card. I think it was just Crookshank and Ian. So it was fun to like, you know, watch one of our own do something in Rizin, you know. Yeah, and then the rest of the main card just was fantastic. And when you watch like Tenson fight, like, you know, at that point you've been up so much and your energy's pumping, and that was just an amazing fight to watch. And then you capped it off with quick KO, and you know it really did kind of make the night perfect. And for Rizin, they just had like all of the right winners win, you know. And sometimes that happens, and it's clearly booked to happen that way in some fights. But
the timing for this card was perfect too, because this was arguably the biggest card of the weekend.
Exactly.
And that doesn't happen too much when it comes to Rizin. No disrespect to them. I love Rizin. I think they're one of the better promotions as far as watching it, the display, and the fights are great as well. But it's often the afterthought. As I said last week, it often follows, you know, the Jones Cormier 2s. I remember there was a Rizin card after that card, you know, and so people kind of forget about it, maybe don't want to watch 2 cards back to back. So the fact that Rizin sort of stole the weekend in a way, I thought was really good for them.
Yeah, this Rizin's always going to be for the hardcore. It's going to be for weird, you know, people who like staying up late at night, who, you know, who have some weird esoteric reason why they want to watch, you know, pageantry MMA in the early hours of the morning. But there's something awesome and fantastic about it, and for them to be able to, yeah, really own the weekend and deliver highlights, like genuine, you know, shareable, you know, write about highlights, probably at least 3 of them that really made the weekend. And you know, that can set their brand off here, and they don't need much of a US market. It's really for them, their focus is catching on in Japan and being on Japanese TV. And if they're consistently on Japanese TV, you better watch out then, because then they're going to start grabbing real talent.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what is next for Rizin. I know they do have, you know, a schedule out and card set, but as far as who they're gonna sign, what they're gonna do, what their sort of plan is, do they keep on pushing tension? Do they? I mean, of course they will. Horiguchi. The future is definitely bright for Rizin. One thing I want to move on to, big news we had this morning. I remember waking up to and received the press release for this. It is that we now know who. Or as far as the American fans go of the UFC, we now know where they will have to go and what they will have to buy as far as a subscription goes, channel packages, etc., to watch the UFC come 2019 for, you know, we don't know how many years. It's a multi-fight deal or multi-year deal, but it'll go on for a little while anyway. So ESPN Plus has agreed to a TV deal, a media rights deal with the UFC. Officially, according to the release, it is the Walt Disney Company's direct-to-consumer and international segment, plus ESPN, which will, for the most part, use their ESPN Plus service. What do you know? Like, I guess ESPN Plus, because we don't have ESPN up in Canada. Is that just their streaming service? I assume it is.
It's actually a new streaming service, because ESPN 3 had always been the like online streaming ESPN. And there actually you would watch a lot of like boxing fights on that, and some glory kickboxing as well. ESPN Plus is a fairly new service that they just launched a little bit ago. It's always $10 a month, and I think $100 for a year, so you get like $20 in savings if you buy a whole year's worth. And you get a bunch of streaming services, and I guess they're adding these UFC events to it because they really need content for the app. No one's really diving in and getting it. It'll be interesting to see how many people subscribe and how many extra people sign up for ESPN with them taking on these UFC fights. I think we'll be shocked by the number of it. I really think you're going to see like 200,000 subscribers in that neighborhood. Maybe. And everyone wants to scoff at that as a number. But I think in this market, a dependable 200,000 people who will watch 6 hours of content, who will sit and watch 6 to 8 hours of content in a go live, is maybe more valuable than we think it is. But we'll see. You know, you get 200,000 people to subscribe for, you know, $100 a year. Like, shit, man, you just put $2 million in your... No, you put $20 million in your pocket, you know?
Before we talk about the specific or the deal and sort of whether it's good, bad, in the middle, I just want to give a few more specifics. So as far as where people have to go, ESPN Plus, of course, is where a lot of the content will be. It sounds like there will be 15 UFC cards per year on ESPN Plus, branded UFC on ESPN Plus Fight Night. That's a mouthful.
Time out. What the fuck are we doing, guys? Can anyone just like come up with a fucking name? Like, is there a creative soul in the entire marketing department of UFC in Zuffa headquarters? There isn't any dude who can come up with a name, like just a name that isn't just like an actual literal description of what it is. UFC on ESPN Plus Fight Night? What the fuck is wrong with you? Brand it something. Call it a fucking name. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Well, I don't even mind, you know, a UFC on ESPN, just like the UFC on Fox cards. It's not original.
That would have been better than ESPN Plus. What the fuck?
Yes,
Fight Night.
Yes.
Oh, jeez.
You don't need to have...
Shut up.
Yeah, you don't need to have the Fight Night, the plus in there. You don't need to have... That's what a description is for. A name doesn't need to have every single detail. So they will have 15 cards with 12 fights each. I find it really interesting how they specify how many fights will be on each of these ESPN Plus cards, because they fall out all the time. They get canceled, you know. So are they all
probably have contingencies for that, but they're probably required to book 12 fights in good faith.
I find that kind of bizarre though, because I don't think we've ever done that, have we? As far as UFC,
I don't think they've ever detailed it. But think about this: they've always like been required to fill a certain amount of space.
Yeah, I assume on the back burner, behind the scenes, they have, you know, a requirement. We've
in
just
a contract like that, there'd be contingencies to be like, hey, you can shrink as many as this and as many as that, and if you shrink to this little, you have to pay us back by XYZ dollars or something. You know, you'd work something like that out.
Sure.
But think about that. How crazy is this? They paid $10 million for a fight card for 12 fight cards. That means the value of the UFC putting on any fight. You know, I understand, not accounting for, of course, that main events actually draw more eyeballs. But like
on
$800,000, $833,000. That's a lot of fucking money. And when you think about you giving out purses that are 10 and 10, now of course, you can't just be like, okay, split that 800 between the fighters. I know I'm not like an idiot, but
I think the UFC did good here. 150 a year for 15.
I think they fucking fleeced them. I think this was a fucking highway robbery. This was amazing. This is a year's worth of this. Jesus Christ! Even if you get half that amount, they'd probably still be profitable.
Yeah.
If that's any indicator of what their TV deal is going to be, oh shit, dude, are you kidding?
So most of these cards are going to be on ESPN Plus, their streaming service, but some will also be on, according to this release, across a variety of ESPN television, social, and digital platforms in English and Spanish. I'm very interested to see how much UFC content there actually is on cable ESPN. Does that matter?
I think it's gonna lead to more coverage of UFC fights on SportsCenter. Sure. And that's the key here. And UFC's on SportsCenter, but when they want to push something, they can push it a lot more than what they are. I don't know.
Does it matter whether or not we have, half of the UFC cards on cable television on traditional ESPN, or can it all be on Plus? In this day and age, streaming services are starting to take over, but I don't know if that takeover is complete. I don't know if throwing everything on a streaming service is the way to go. I know that's not the plan, but it seems like they're putting a lot of their eggs into ESPN Plus.
No, I don't think so. It's just their announcement. They still got to sell the TV part of the deal. So that's that. I think this was really good news for the UFC. If you're, one of these guys who are really pumped about the financial takeover of some big multinational corporation.
So, will this affect the amount of fights or cards they put on?
TBD. TBD. No one knows.
We don't know.
No.
All we know is that 15 cards for the ESPN Plus, and that's it. Accurate?
Yep. There you
go. I'm interested to see what happens with Fight Pass. It seems like we'll still need Fight Pass. It's not super clear, but
at least for archival things, or at least for some of the archival things. So who knows? This will all have to be cleared up.
Because ESPN Plus is $4.99 USD a month, or $50 a year. And what you will get on it, as far as
only $50 a year, okay, yeah.
Is all new seasons of Dana White Contender Series beginning in June of next year, not this year. I know there were reports that ESPN was picking up Contender Series. That, of course, won't happen this year because the deal doesn't start till next January. There'll also be a new original all-access series produced by IMG Original Content. You'll get your pre- and post-fight shows. For the 15 cards on ESPN Plus, you'll get.
Thank you for that. Appreciate that, ESPN.
Yes. I can't wait for the post-fight shows every week.
You know what? What will be fun? It'll be a shakeup of broadcasting people. I think, because I don't think ESPN's going to let them. I think part of this move also is
Snoop Dogg's going to be an ESPN commentator. That's the best thing ever.
No, I don't think they're going to let it fly. Unfortunately, Snoopcast may die. That's going to be an unfortunate.
Well, we still have one more year of it, maybe. We don't know if they're coming back, but
I don't think so. I think they're saving everyone. Yeah. So anyway, it's a big question mark. We really heard it, and this is big news, but it's only really half of the big news in how we're going to be viewing MMA come 2019.
Yeah. And also, it says that you can also purchase and watch UFC Fight Pass via ESPN.
And that's what I'm thinking, that they're going to offer you Fight Pass maybe for only $5 more. And then it would be the same thing you were paying on Fight Pass. And then, what are you complaining about?
Yeah. I think if it's not like that, and if you, for whatever reason, have to keep Fight Pass to watch, basically, if you're a hardcore fan, I'm looking at this in the eyes of a hardcore fan. If you want to watch every single fight the UFC puts on, which no one should, but if you do, and you want to watch all other content, if you need Fight Pass, you need, cable or however else you get your FS1 cards right now. If you need this ESPN Plus for another $50 a year, it's kind of this is kind of a loss for fight fans, because it seems like becoming a UFC fan just got $50 more expensive.
Yep. Unless we see something change up,
cost a shit ton too. So
yeah, that's the biggest thing. It'll all kind of be determined on how this TV deal goes. All of a sudden, if they say, "Hey, we're reducing the amount of pay-per-views a year to 6, and we're going to have a lot more stuff on a cable station that you probably already have in your package," well, then holy shit, it just became a lot cheaper to become a UFC fan. So we really don't fucking know, and that's the truth of it.
Now, I'm also very interested to see what is up with this Disney direct-to-consumer and international thing. No one's really mentioned it as far as, MMAfighting.com's news story on this purchase or the deal. They didn't really mention Disney at all. No one really has, so I'm wondering, are they just... Because Disney owns ESPN?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they do. Okay. Yeah.
And but they wouldn't brand it Disney. Disney's just the parent company, so they wouldn't talk about Disney. It's okay. Really, it's just ESPN really acquiring content. It's not like a big deal.
So I'm not gonna have to repurchase Disney XD on cable or anything.
That'd be awesome if Mickey Mouse started appearing cage side at the UFC.
I feel like that probably will happen.
Dude, if that happens, I will. Oh my god. You might never hear from me again. I may die of laughter.
I think this is a good move for the UFC because with it also being attached to Disney, I can't believe I'm saying this, but they're kind of reaching a new audience. Maybe,
A kid friendly UFC.
maybe I don't know. Probably not, but
Definitely not.
no.
This is the savage cage fighting shit, man. Who knows how it's gonna survive?
But your point about ESPN being, of course, on Sportsnet or on it, I think that's a good move for the UFC. I think I didn't think they would land with ESPN. My prediction, if you were to ask me before today, I'm thinking they stick with Fox for a little bit longer. They stick with maybe they try out Amazon, their streaming service, Amazon Prime or Plus or whatever it is, and see how that goes. The streaming part of everything. I didn't think they would land with ESPN, but it makes sense. They have SportsNet. They're way more sports oriented than Fox. And look, the thing is, ESPN now it's all sort of all coming full circle. ESPN has recently been amping up their MMA coverage a bit more. I know Jeff Wagenheim has been doing a lot more when it comes to combat sports just recently. That's why he had to leave the MMA beat. It seems like they have quite a bit of coverage over there, and it's sort of all leading up to this. Whereas Fox Sports, of course, I know this wasn't super recent, but they let go of Damon Martin. They sort of get rid of all their UFC writing coverage. It's kind of all making sense now that, hey, of course they're not staying with Fox.
No, I think that just had to do with how media is changing and the amount of money that you can make for print material versus video and all that nonsense.
I'm not saying Fox let go of everybody as far as the writing goes because the UFC wasn't going to re-sign with them, but more the other way around because Fox isn't, focused on the UFC coverage. The UFC is like, all right, let's move on.
Okay, yeah, I mean maybe because they're seeing a dip in the overall sports popularity. Is that the point you're making?
I think it's just the UFC wants to be on a channel, be partnered with a company that wants to promote their stuff.
Do you think that Fox didn't do a good job promoting it? That's a really interesting question, right? Like, has Fox been a good thing for the sport of MMA?
I think Fox has been a good thing. I don't think the sport would be where it is today without Fox. I know that's a very cliche thing to say, but Fox has an audience that spreads wider than the UFC audience. As much as a joke some of Fox's programming is, and I say that as a Canadian where FS1 doesn't exist, but
sure,
they have so many podcasts on there or like radio shows that just seem really, really bad. What's the one with is Colin Cowherd show on FS1? It is, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Figured so. Dan and something else. I don't know.
In the Herd with Colin Cowherd.
No, but there's another one. Don't remember what it is though. But
the one he argues with the other dude.
Probably. I'm sure that's what it is.
Speak it for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of proving my point. So, I mean, Fox obviously was great for the UFC. They were necessary for the UFC's growth, but I can't say the UFC has surpassed Fox Sports, but I feel like maybe Fox is going in a different direction where ESPN is a lot more traditional sports coverage based, right? And so
I hope that the move to ESPN will get some new blood into how like it's programmed and how everyone how it looks
really
and feels.
So too. I really
and in the enthusiasm, I think, and you know what? There's a lot of people who've been working the Fox desk that I actually like. I really enjoy them being broadcasters, but overall, I'm not like the experience is just a little stale, and no one really wants to innovate and shake things up. So let's let someone else have a ring at it.
It's nice to try new things. It's nice to change things up. Yeah. I'm very interested to see how this affects, something like UFC Tonight. Does ESPN introduce UFC Tonight on ESPN? Do they bring back Karen Bryant? Do they keep guys like Michael Bisping? I mean, because
I'd like to see less like of a rotating cast of fighters like UFC does. It's like UFC Tonight and that whole crew does a post and because it's so hit or miss on like who you like. I think if you're gonna have a fighter's voice, like have it be consistent. Like the panelists on fucking NFL on Fox don't change every goddamn week. That's absurd. So like figure it out and like
people get they get what's the word? They get attached basically to certain analysts. I mean, when I watch hockey playoffs right now, I mean, the four guys come on, it's like, hey, I actually, I don't mind these people. I recognize them, and it's not like I'm emotionally attached to what they're saying, but it's good to recognize the people that are talking on your screen. And
yeah, of course, you're like, yeah, that's the dude. He's the dude who does the announcing. Yeah, let him do his thing. Everyone shut up.
And when FS1/UFC, who even is in charge of that? I mean, this is a really silly question.
Well, it's the UFC. The real question is the UFC relinquishing control of the broadcast?
Yeah, so I've always been curious how that works. So FS1 doesn't have any say over whether Karen Bryant works on X evening or not.
Probably a little bit of say.
I would assume they do, because I mean, she works for FS1.
But like Dana probably pushes them, or like, not pushes them physically, but like, says like, hey, here's a bunch of fighters I thought would be good for this role. Like, why don't you try them out? And like,
just like he's almost pushing for Mario Yamasaki not to ref, even though the UFC doesn't dictate who's a referee or not.
Yeah, sure. The UFC has zero influence on commissions.
Yeah.
Not at all.
The secrets of MMA.
All right.
Let's talk Georges St-Pierre and
God, how did this become a thing? Jesus Christ, Nicholas!
What a bizarre fight. It's not official for anyone who hasn't heard or
it's signed. It's a done deal. It's happening in Calgary.
That would be
buy
pretty
tickets
crazy.
This weekend.
I would go if that was.
Of course you would Calgary. Go. If it was in Calgary, of course you have to
GSP-Diaz, Joanna Jacek versus Tisha Torres, maybe Poirier Alvarez. There's another fight on there that I can't remember what it is, but it's great.
They're not going to bring that big a card to Calgary.
No. I mean, Dana White was saying on the UFC Unfiltered podcast, and yes, I listened to his interview because I have nothing better to do in my life. But no, the only reason I wanted to hear him talk about Ariel Helwani and just crap on him like he usually does. But
is that what he does? Does he go on UFC Unfiltered and just shit on Ariel Helwani a bunch of times?
He's done it at least twice now.
That's awesome. I had no clue. Dana is the most petty man alive. It is absurd.
Yeah. Can't disagree with that. But anyways, GSP-Diaz is in the works according to Dana White. If you ask someone like an Ariel Helwani, it is in preliminary talks. It is being discussed, but there are still some hurdles. It is far from a done deal. But they do want to do that fight for UFC 227 in LA at the Staples Center in early August. That would apparently be the co-main event to TJ Dillashaw versus Cody Garbrandt. That'd be a ridiculous move if they have GSP-Diaz under that fight, they're really not going to. That's just what Dana White is saying. And
that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Was Dana White smoking weed before that show?
I'm sure he was doing much more than that. He also said GSP-Diaz will take place, if it happens, at lightweight. That's concerning for me. Georges St-Pierre.
You see what's up? Like Dana has to give fights to the Diaz brothers, just like keep them on contract. He has to offer them 3 fights a year. So he offers absurd shit like this. Just so he can keep GSP and Nate Diaz on contract. What he did was he's like, I'm going to offer you guys both a fight. It's going to be at 155 pounds. So they're both like, I don't want that stupid fight. And he's like, perfect. I'll see you again in 4 months.
You actually might be onto something. I'm not going to lie.
Now, you have to contractually fucking give these guys fights, right? And they're not fighting. So you're extending the contract, and that's a nonsense. That's every part of that's nonsense. First of all, if any Diaz brother's going to fight GSP, which one is it going to be?
Nick.
What weight classes have GSP fought at?
Not 155.
What name?
And what weight class did he just fight at? 30 pounds heavier for the UFC middleweight championship.
After fighting Conor at 170 twice, Nate Diaz has been explicitly clear about how he is a 155-pound fighter.
But Dana White, he said he's basically a 205er, right? Way too big for Conor.
He's at least 3 times Conor's size.
Yes.
Anyway, so just every bit of that was just so stupid and absurd. When Dana says shit like that, it's almost blatantly. He's waving it in front of GSP's agent and Diaz's agent's face. That's what he's doing. Maybe they share agents, and he was just giving that dude a little smackdown on Freaking Matt Sarah's podcast, his buddy.
So does the fight happen? Yes or no?
No, come on, this would be stupid.
No.
No. Here's the thing, too. GSP's been so clear about how, for him, his next fight has to be a legacy fight. Now, I also think that means he would fight Conor. The only way this happens is if it's like a deeper angle for GSP to fight Conor as well.
Yeah, it's all just so bizarre. It's not a fight anyone really wants to see. A lot of people have been talking about this today, yesterday, ever since Mike Russell actually got the first scoop on this over the weekend, I believe it was. It's not a fight that's really interesting. GSP is going to take Nate Diaz down, and he's going to decision him over 3 or 5 rounds. It's not going to be the most fun. It's not going to be intriguing. It's not going to be all that competitive. Yeah, it's just not a fight that makes any sense. And the UFC does this all the time. They put together fights that make no sense whatsoever. This is headlined, after all, by a bantamweight title fight between TJ Dillashaw and Cody Garbrandt. That, although I loved the fight, and I loved it before it happened the first time in November, it doesn't need to be happening this soon. That, again, makes no sense. So would I watch? Of course, that's a silly question, but GSP-Diaz.
That's a stupid question. We're right there buying the pay-per-view, pump for it when it's announced.
Yeah. I mean, once say it's booked, I would be somewhat excited.
The shit show is going to be incredible if that gets booked.
Of course, I mean, the lead up to it will be a lot of fun. Nate Diaz is great. GSP going against Nate Diaz will be great. But the fight itself, not super stylistically fun. I would much prefer GSP fight 170. I don't know who at 170 he would fight other than Tyron Woodley. But he also the weight cut. Yeah, if this is 100% serious, GSP making his 155-pound debut. He's 37 years old, right around there, coming off a middleweight title fight. I know he had to eat a lot to get to 185 and eat a lot that it caused him to basically get colitis, but let's be honest, he shouldn't be cutting down to 155, maybe 165. He's never been a huge welterweight, but 155 seems to be quite the stretch. So I don't like weight cutting any more than really anybody. Like I hate weight cutting, of course. I've made that clear many times on the show, and so I don't think 155 is a smart move for GSP. And honestly, I don't think the Nate Diaz fight's a smart move. Khabib, maybe, just because he's the lightweight champion. But again, that would mean GSP would have to make that cut. Conor at 170 would be great. But otherwise, yeah, definitely not GSP versus Nate Diaz. I don't know if this actually goes through. I don't know what the UFC is doing.
Yeah, it also does seem like a weird floundering move of an amateur to book this fight. This fight holds no... God, do you remember, like, in the Joe Silva era, a fight like this would never fly, right?
Probably not. I think not even just the... It's not even it's not even Joe Silva versus McMahon. It is Zuffa versus WMEIMG.
Yeah, of course. But there's no... What I'm saying is there's no centralized voice in the company stopping dumb shit like this from happening and showing a real easy alternative that, like, it is maybe more compelling.
Yeah, I think Joe Silva is sort of the type of guy who's like, okay, yeah, we're here to make money, we're here to put on good fights, but this isn't a good fight.
He wanted it all to make a logical sense somehow, Yeah,
every fight for Joe Silva had to go somewhere after. The winner had to move up the ladder in some way or some fashion, and the winner of GSP, Nate Diaz, just gets another win.
Yeah, it's such a weird one.
Let's
hope it never comes to it.
Yeah, it's almost as weird as Nate Diaz versus Tyron Woodley. Maybe even weirder. Remember when that was the thing? Not that long ago.
I don't know. You've been going chop suey all day.
All I said was it might be even weirder than Nate Diaz versus Tyron Woodley, when that was supposedly a thing just a couple months ago.
Oh, yeah. All these reports, I'm all dismissing them out of hands. I'm only looking at really announced fights. Get the fuck out of here. This isn't reporting. This is news. This is bullshit that Dana White has said. Bullshit that Dana White has said, we've determined years ago, is not worth the time of day. So stop listening to it. It's done. This is non-story. I'm moving on. Are we ready for Gets It Doesn't Get It? We got to wrap this thing up.
You get me upset? Card to talk about. We have multiple cards to talk about.
We have cards to talk about? No. Okay. What's going on this weekend that of important? Well, we have UFC 224, which is headlined by Amanda Nunes and Rocky Pennington.
Correct.
We have the Road FC Openweight Grand Tournament Round 1. That's also happening on Saturday. Oh, and of course we have Belly. We have Bellator with being headlined by Ryan Bader and your boy King Mo Lawal.
There you go. And also John Fish versus Paul Daly.
Oh, on the undercard of that. And your boy
Pico's back.
Pico. I'm on the Pico knocks out dudes train. I'm having fun doing it. He better keep doing it.
I wasn't for a long time. I picked Pico against Zach Freeman, and so I lost there.
You're such an analyst of these young up-and-comers.
But then I picked Shane Crutchton to beat Aaron Pico, and that didn't work out so well. So
Clown yourself. No one cares about your picks. Do you enjoy watching him knock people out when the highlights happen?
He seems
come on, sign up for an Aaron Pico KO.
He seems to be a lot of fun, and I think he'll develop into a very good fighter.
There's a Lomachenko fight on Saturday too, if you're into the boxing thing.
Oh yes, I've heard about him. I've seen him fight maybe once. I don't know tons. I'm a casual boxing fan, but he's like one of the most fun boxers right now. Yeah.
This is going to probably be one of his most competitive matchups in a while. So.
All right. Definitely keep your eyes out for that. UFC 224 goes down Rio de Janeiro, Brazil this Saturday. Do you like the card? A lot of people have been crapping on it a little bit. I mean, okay, so it's opened by Vitor Belfort, Lyoto Machida.
Which, by the way, is perfection. The more I think about it, the more I enjoy it.
No, it's a perfect matchup, but it still might not be that much fun.
Time out. Oh, yeah, it might not be that fun. Okay.
What did you think I was going to say?
I thought you were going to say that it wasn't worthy to be on a pay-per-view. And
no. Of course.
This should be the co-main event. What the fuck are we doing, UFC? This is a slight. This is a slight to Vitor Belfort and Lyoto Machida. God damn it. They both deserve $1 million for this fight, and they should be the goddamn co-main event, if not the main event. You know, let Amanda Nunes main event over Lyoto Machida.
Two fighters, but Amanda Bobby Cooper and Brian Kelleher fight later in the evening than Vitor Belfort and Lyoto Machida.
What the fuck, man? That's unacceptable. That is a move of disrespect.
ESPN will fix this. ESPN will not let this fly.
The order of why? Yeah, can we get rid of that one remnant of the Joe Silva era, which I never enjoyed? The order of the card should matter. The most compelling shit should be at the end, and it should go down in order from that. Now, we can be selective and play around for like a TV audience or for like a prelim main event. If you want to do that, I'll accept it a little bit. But none of this, like, all of a sudden, why's, you know, the last card before pay-per-view is going to be Cesar Ferreira against Collar. I guess they're hoping Cesar gets knocked out real quick, right? Okay. Maybe that makes sense.
Brazil, but I don't know. Maybe.
But anyway.
Do you like Nunes Pennington? Do you like the main event?
Is the main event of this card. Shut up.
Do you like the main event, Nunes Pennington?
No, not really.
No.
Raquel Pennington's a 9-5 fighter, and like that record is exactly indicative of like the entertainment level of watching her fights. You're just like, yeah, there she is. She's doing fighting. I bet her a bunch of times to win fights. Fighter. I mean, what was a great Raquel Pennington performance?
Bulldog choking Ashley Evans Smith.
Okay, I'll give her props on that. That was dope as fuck. But I mean, is she doing that against high level people? Like, you know, this is actually Evans Smith.
But even the Holly Holm fight was quite a bit of fun 3 years ago.
No.
Sort of.
No.
I mean, she's a banger. She hits pretty hard. She's fairly technical. I think she has a chance against Nunes. I'm not going to pick her, but I think the odds are a little off here.
How long has it been since she's fought a fight, too?
It's been a long time. Misha Tate, November 2016.
What the fuck? That's the last fight she was in?
Yep.
Oh, my God. Dude, you can't give her a title shot based off that. That's nonsense.
Give one to Ronda Rousey, then.
That's a different story, man. Come on. Everyone would step aside for a Ronda Rousey fight. Even Raquel Pennington would make, you know, $150,000 off just stepping down. You know,
seems likely. So you're going to Amanda Nunes by knockout, or?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, she's just. I think Pennington takes beatings well, doesn't she? So might be a decision.
I think Nunes, or I think Pennington.
I
can
think
make
that
this.
no matter what, that this fight is probably going to be a bit dull.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I hope Nunes brings pressure and does what she's best at, and that's just like go forward and be like an animal and just let these girls know that you can't take my punches. I can eat your punches, and like let's just see a lot of action. But I feel like Amanda Nunes is getting like really smart and technical in her striking, and that's not a good thing for just like wild ass entertainment. And I need a little bit of wild ass entertainment for this fight to to really go somewhere crazy, and and that's what I'm looking for.
I think Pennington can make this sort of competitive, but ultimately Nunes, what Pennington does, Nunes does better, and that's of course on the feet. This will be a stand-up affair, and also don't forget about Nunes's submission capability as well. She's pretty good on the ground. She choked out Sarah McMahon way back when.
Yeah, and I'm worried that Raquel Pennington's going to be too good to like let Amanda just bulldog her and like walk her down with boxing combinations. Like she's going to do the right things on the feet so that it's nullified. And we're just going to watch them like, kind of box and kickbox for
Maybe
5 rounds, not really landing anything devastating.
Could be right. Ultimately, I got to go with the champ and still Amanda Nunes to retain the women's bantamweight title. But I do
What are you going by?
Probably late TKO. TKO in the 4th, maybe. I'll say. But I do think I know for a fact, just because a lot of people don't like this fight. I think it's a decent matchup, anyways. Maybe not pay-per-view headliner worthy, but I like it more than.
Okay, most. You know what my favorite fight of the card is? Machida Belfort.
Yeah.
What's your favorite fight of the card?
My favorite is the next one, the co-main event, Ronaldo Jacare Souza versus Kelvin Gastelum. I think as far as people being in their prime, and not even that Jacare is, but as far as relevancy and as far as just a great matchup stylistically, let's be honest, Belfort and Machida are basically shot at this point in time.
Yeah, this is a super relevant fight.
Jacare and Gastelum means a lot to the division. Belfort Machida doesn't. Jacare Souza versus Kelvin Gastelum. That is a fight. That is a great fight.
Yep, it's good. I love it. I really like Kelvin Gastelum's chances here. I wonder how much Jacare's fading. I think if this had happened even, 2 years ago, you'd have to think that this would be, you would just think Jacare's too much of a force to not just smoke him. And Jacare looked great against Derek Brunson, So, I think that was, one of the better fights actually of, all of, or one of the better fights so far of this year. But he is getting up there in age. But it is always the the wear, not the miles. It's the tread, not the miles, Nicholas. If you're holding me to a pick, I'm actually going to go with Kelvin Gastelum. I think that he's evolving too much and will have answers for anything that Jacare wants to do. I don't see Jacare getting takedowns on him, and I wonder if his hand speed is just like too good. His combinations are crisp and like Kelvin Gastelum's got something. And I know he's not in his proper weight class. He definitely could be 170-pound champion right now. But God, I think he's really, really good at either weight class. So he might win this one.
I'm going to go with Jacare Souza here. The thing with this matchup is that had this been happening before the Derek Brunson knockout in January, Jacare's last win, I would probably pick Kelvin Gastelum because I thought going into that Brunson fight that, as you sort of alluded to, Jacare might be shot, he might be done, he might be fading away, he might be getting worse because he was coming off that pretty nasty TKO loss to now the current champion, Robert Whittaker, back in April of last year. Now that I know that Jacare still has what it takes to be an elite middleweight, I definitely think Kelvin Gastelum's right there, but stylistically, it's just not a great matchup for him because Gastelum is quite a bit smaller, although the reach is only an inch advantage for Souza. So I found that a little interesting. The height, bit of a different story, 4 inches, but I think this could look a bit like the Chris Weidman fight. Gastelum on the feet definitely will get some chances to land big on Jacare. If Gastelum clips him, he's probably knocking Jacare out, but he needs to find his range. He needs to get in close and touch him. If he doesn't, Jacare will get on top, where he is an absolute monster. I mean, Jacare might be one of the best grapplers in MMA in the UFC, and so should he get on top, I think it's kind of all over, maybe even more so than when Chris Weidman got on top of Gastelum. I just think stylistically it's not great, and then add in the size and strength advantage for Jacare. I don't know how great of a night this will be for Kelvin Gastelum. He might prove me wrong, but I think Jacare will get it done. Considering Gastelum is a very talented fighter, his defense is good. I might consider going Jacare by decision here, actually, but he could tap Gastelum out as well. That wouldn't surprise me. Anything else we want to talk about? John Lineker, Brian Kelleher is a lot of fun.
If there's a second favorite fight of the card for me, that probably is it. Yeah. That sounds like a fun one. And actually give Kelleher a shot at this, man. I don't know, for whatever reason. Will Mackenzie Dern choke out ABC? We can all only hope. And what else is floating around in the undercard here?
That's really about
Thomas Latis against Jack Hermanson. Your boy Jack Hermanson. He's kind of a thumper. Warley Alvarez. I like always seeing Warley Alvarez. He's lost some key fights, but he could be someone good.
Ramazan Emeev is actually kind of interesting.
Yeah, that welterweight fight. Yeah, we can. Where's is he Dagestani or is he one of the other ones? Evie.
I think Dagestan.
I thought it was like some other weird part of Russia, but okay, whatever.
Find out Emeev. He is from Dailim, Russia.
You see, that is bizarre. No one knows what Dailim is.
No, nor do I.
Everyone's shocked you don't have that geographic knowledge in you. You want to talk some belly, or you want to wrap this thing up?
Well, let's talk a little Bellator real quick, though. King Mo Ryan Bader, the final opening round of the Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix tournament.
Finally, Jesus Christ, guys!
No kidding, May.
You could have thrown this as a co-main event on one of those fucking events and made it a little spicier.
Of the Fedor one.
Please, thank you.
The winner will go on to face Matt Mitrione for a crack in the finals. Of course, on the other hand, we have Chael Sonnen versus Fedor Emelianenko in the other semifinal. Who walks away the advancing in the tournament? Light heavyweight champion Ryan Bader or King Mo?
Ryan Bader. I think Ryan Bader's really good, actually. And that many people, kind of sleep on his skill level. Probably, if not for the existence of, a few really elite fighters, Ryan Bader's right there with everyone else. He's beat so many high-class dudes. And, whereas he might have a size disadvantage in some people, if this was a real heavyweight tournament, he really doesn't have one here. I know that Mo Lawal actually has a history of fighting at heavyweight, but, he's basically a similar sized person. I think that, Mo isn't going to be able to institute some sort of like wrestling game, and that Ryan's boxing's probably too good.
Yeah, I agree. As I yawn, I'm tired a little bit. Ryan Bader, I think, does get the job done. Yeah, this was supposed to happen a little while ago. Ryan Bader was supposed to debut against King Mo. Remember that one? Phil Davis was the Bellator 205 champ. They're going to do Bader versus King Mo at Bellator NYC. Then in comes Phil Davis, the champion, the reigning champion, for an injured, King Mo. Yeah, and Bader won the title against King Mo, or against Phil Davis. And now we're here. I think Ryan Bader gets it done. I think he's bigger. Without looking at their stats, I just assume I know he's a lot taller, and I would assume the reach is around that as well. Ryan Bader's a really good fighter. King Mo's very talented as well, but I think Ryan Bader's on a different level. Ryan Bader is, not only UFC caliber, that goes without saying, but he's just under the best of the best at UFC's 205. He's obviously under Daniel Cormier, John Jones, even Rumble. Throw him in there. Alexander Gustafsson, maybe even Glover at this point in time. Maybe not. But he's right there. Everybody else he beats. And so I think against King Mo is definitely under Ryan Bader. I think Ryan Bader, both guys are good in the wrestling department. I think Bader's probably the better striker. I think he's just more well-rounded. He's more athletic. He has more tools in the tool bag, more ways to win.
I'll say the only thing Ryan Bader has really going against him is the fact that one time Tito Ortiz choked him unconscious, and that takes a piece of a man's soul. So if somehow King Mo can utilize that fact and like really hurt him there, he's got the victory. Other than that, I think this is Bader's day.
Maybe King Mo will invite Tito to walk out with him.
Oh my God! You see, there you go. Now he's got the W.
And then that, you know, I have a video.
You bring Tito to a goddamn Bellator event, and you get the biggest crowd pop in the world. And Bellator fans are the only people in the world who like actually admire and think that Tito Ortiz is inspirational.
It's funny how we mentioned Bader and then King Mo walking out with Tito to beat him psychologically or whatever. I actually have a video that I plan on watching after we're done up on my computer right now. It's
Tito Ortiz?
Fighters who were beaten mentally before the fight, and Ryan Bader would be added to the list. But ultimately, I do think Ryan Bader gets it done. One last one. This is a kind of an interesting.
John Fitch, Paul Daly, please.
I'm torn on this one a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Torn. Oh yeah, and like how's it gonna go down? Like basically it's can a dude who is awesome at wrestling people take down a dude who's terrible at wrestling people and not gonna take it down. So I'm gonna so you have to lean towards John Fitch. But so. John Fitch has been getting cracked in the goddamn head by people all the time, and who's amazing at cracking people in the head. This is the most quintessential striker versus grappler matchup we've ever had. I think ultimately John Fitch will take a couple shots on the entry, but we'll get him down and we'll probably find a submission or a ground pound finish. I wouldn't be shocked. I still don't think Paul Daly, after all these years, has learned a ground game. So, Yeah,
I'm going John Fitch by decision. He is coming off his first stoppage win in a long, long time. I don't think he continues that stoppage streak. I think it'll end very quickly, and he'll go back to decisioning people. But, yeah, I mean, as you said, grappler versus wrestler versus striker, who wins? Kind of have to favor the wrestler more often than not, but Paul Daly just might crack him once, and John Fitch could go down. You never know, but all favor John Fitch ever so slightly.
John Fitch, how are you going to bounce from PFL when the $1 million tournament's coming on the line? Jesus, he must not think that check's going to cash.
Maybe not. He is a fighter right against Paul Daly. So he would be more suspicious than I think most people.
Yeah, maybe. He's a conspiracy theorist by nature. Want to move to Gets It Doesn't Get It?
I think we shall.
All right, there's only 2 this week. You ready for them? Oh,
I am.
Viewers of the show, if this is your first time watching, Gets It Doesn't Get It is where we name some people that were in the MMA news this last week, and we determine if they either A, got it, or B, did not get it. This time I'll read the people, and Nick will be the determiner of whether they get it or do not get it. First up, Disney executives were paying $150 million for 15 fight cards in 2018, the year of our Lord. What the fuck, Nicholas?
I mean, we kind of already covered this, but if you weren't listening earlier, or if you need a reminder, we both think Disney, ESPN, whoever's at the top, kind of not a great decision. I think this is a big win for the UFC. I think this is a small loss for the fans, and I think this is a big loss for Disney, ESPN, especially considering UFC this past year hasn't been the best year for them. Last year wasn't the best year for them. 2016 was, of course, fantastic. 2015 was probably even better, but, with the rise of Conor. But I just don't see this being a great move. I mean, having UFC, acquiring the media rights for UFC, I don't think it's the worst thing a cable company, a company can do. But for $150 million a year just for 15 events seems a little rich to me.
Yeah, I'm with you. These guys don't get it. You bought way too much, and it seems like that's Disney's MO, is that they're not paying, or they're constantly overpaying for content. All right, next up, Gets It Doesn't Get It. People who watched the Met Gala to see celebrities play dress up. Nicholas, are you aware of what the Met Gala ball is?
I'll need an explanation, please, and thank you.
So the Metropolitan Museum in New York City, or it's also the Metropolitan Opera. They have like the opening of their season, and it's a big gala event that's attended by the who's who of the celebrity world. But every year, it just seemed to be in the last few years that people have made it a point to wear outrageously stupid outfits to this. I assume while I've been talking to you, you Googled like the Met Gala ball or something like that.
I haven't.
Okay,
Sorry
so
to
you don't have
disappoint, but no, I haven't.
I can't believe what kind of fucking world do you live in where you don't know what the I guess you live in Winnipeg, Canada in 2018, the year of our Lord. Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah,
All right.
that's a good explanation.
All right, so
I
you
live in
don't get
Winnipeg.
it, and no one gets it for watching that. That is some dumb shit. There is nothing more mind-numbing watching a bunch of people play dress up.
Yeah, there's one more I do want to add before we move on to dumb questions.
Oh, a little last minute gets it, doesn't get it. What do you got?
Mackenzie Dern. So there's a lot of angles to talk about when it comes to Mackenzie Dern, who of course does fight this weekend.
Well, make it a gets it, doesn't get it. Stick in the format.
No, for sure. She has said that the ABC matchup this weekend is way easier than fighting Ashley Yoder. So that's one comment that I find a little interesting. But more importantly, she agreed to leave the MMA lab. She has talked about not training every day. Quote, I'm not just training. I'm not the person that the next day I'm back in the academy. I like to be able to be on the beach and relax and miss to be on the mats and want to be on the mats. I don't like to feel the pressure to be on the mats. I'm on the mat since I'm 3 years old. For me at 25, when I have the time to rest and everything, the next time it's like, man, I want to train. I like to have that drive. Now, it seems like the MMA lab, she left it more so because she's been living in California. Having to make that commute back and forth wasn't the easiest.
Make it a gets it, doesn't get it.
Train as much. I don't think those comments are great, though. For a fighter that is coming up, she should have that motivation. And a lot of these are bad signs, I feel. Leaving the MMA lab, which is a very good gym. John Crouch is a very good coach. Leaving that, talking about wanting to spend time on the beach when I shouldn't be saying fighters should just train, but let's be honest, fighters just train. They do nothing else.
Yeah.
Am I onto something or no?
Is that a gets it, doesn't get it?
It is. Does Mackenzie Dern, for everything I just said, she said, does she get it or not get it?
I don't know. Mackenzie Dern probably gets it because you have to understand like the personality and what works with people. I also think they probably burnt her out a little bit. She's just joined the UFC and they're got her on like a pretty accelerated schedule of of fights after fights after fights. She's probably be on a 2-fight-a-year schedule.
She wants to take time off after this fight, and as long as you have to go on vacation for 3 months, I think that's a great move.
I think there's a lot of people who see cash when they look at Mackenzie Dern and they're like, if we could get her into a position where she could fight, and she's like, whoa, pump the brakes. I'm not ready to be fighting anyone for any titles or any shit like this. I'm taking the slow thing, and I'm not letting people abuse me. Fight sports use up girls like that. They're not the winners at the end of it. They don't walk away from this rich. Other people make money off them. So, yeah, good for her. Put up some barriers and find something that works for you. She's never going to become a champion if she's unhappy at the MMA lab. You got to find a thing that works for you.
One good thing I do feel like she said is that she also said in a different interview that she plans to, she's looking for a first round submission in this fight against ABC. She doesn't want to trade punches like she did in her last fight against Yoder in her debut. And I think, obviously, that's very smart as one of the best grapplers, female grapplers, I should say, in the world. So, mix. I guess Mackenzie Dern gets it and doesn't get it all at the same time. What do you know? Are we ready for dumb questions? Oh wait, we don't have any.
Oh, good. Yeah. Here, a moment of silence for the death of dumb questions. Moment over.
All right. Well, with that, moment over, episode over. Thank you all for watching. Episode 162 of the MMA Circus is in the books. Thank you all very much. Go give this video, if you're watching on YouTube live or the recording, go give us a big thumbs up down there. And once we are done plugging all of our stuff, go hit the MMA Circus button down there, and then go to the channel and click the subscribe button up at the very top, the big red subscribe button. I'd really appreciate that. This is where you can find all of my interviews, all of my other shows before the battle. This show, of course, previous episodes of the MMA Circus. You can also find the MMA Circus, of course, on Bloody Elbow. Thank you to them for presenting the show each and every week. iTunes, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Google Play, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Player FM, Podcast Addict, and Overcast, and pretty much anywhere else you can find a podcast. So go check that out. Go rate us, review us, and subscribe. And pretty much anything else you can do. If you have any feedback for the show, either leave a comment on iTunes or something, but drop a message in the comment section down below as well. Andrew, let the people know where they can find you on social media all over the World Wide Web, and also your mixed martial arts coverage.
MiddleEasy.com for everything fantastic and awesome in the world of MMA. Find me on the Twitter machine at the Clown Kid. Follow the at Middle Easy Twitter account as well. I seem to be tweeting from there more often than my own personal one. So holler at me either place. Peace.
You guys can find me on the Twitter at Nick Baldwin MMA. You can find all of my writing over at bloodyelbow.com. Of course, again, subscribe to the channel. Really would appreciate that. I think that's it. Thank you all for watching. For Andrew the Clown Kid Lawrence, I'm Nick Baldwin, and we're out.
What up, Sherry?